Sports 365. Mark Barzetta, John McMullen. I'm sitting in for Jody McDonald. Thanks, everyone in the chat. We see your comments. We appreciate you guys. Coming up a little bit later in the show, actually at 9:20. Bo Wolf joining us at 9:20. Is that the time we got him, John?
Yeah, 9:20. Bo from The Athletic. Doing a tremendous job with our other buddy, Zach Berman. It's always fun to talk to Bo. One of my nemesis is when it comes to the 53-man roster challenge.
Oh boy.
He's a multi-time champion. So
we'll talk to Bo Wolf coming up at 9:20. So look forward to that conversation with Bo. Bo does a wonderful job covering things for The Athletic. And I will say the podcast Birds with Friends. If you don't like the podcast in itself, it's at least the best name for a podcast. Birds with Friends. Is
solid,
a good time.
Solid work. Bo's quirky like that. He always comes up with the turns of phrase that work well.
Certainly. If you're just joining us, I do want to let you guys know we have been picking the brain of the great John McMullen throughout the first hour of the show. John, you're feeling we see the young guys in preseason game number 1 with Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis? Jordan Davis?
Yeah, Jordan. You'll probably get some Jordan because Jordan's, not only still a very young player, but also it's one of the surprises as well, how much work he's gotten with the team, with the first team in 4-man fronts. And I saw earlier people complaining about Jalen Carter. I said, I'm surprised he's not getting reps with the first team. First team. You have to be very clear, Mark, evidently.
Otherwise the comment section, man, can just go off.
Yeah.
Just go off. Yeah, man.
But with Jordan, and that's one of the reasons why, is because Jordan's been getting so many reps with the first team in 40 fronts, 4-man fronts. I expected it in 50 fronts, the 5-man fronts, but he's been getting a lot of work in those 4-man fronts. That surprises me because he's not known as a natural pass rusher, whereas Jalen Carter is. That's been interesting. I'll be interested to hear Bo's take on that because that's been one of the most interesting parts of camp to me. Is how they've used Jordan Davis so much.
Yeah. Real quick, while we're talking about the comment, I do want to give a shout out to my my lady Babs. I'm all in on the Phillies, baby. You know it. Anyone who watches the post-game show with me knows it as well. Appreciates all you guys that do watch that show, so I appreciate it. I'll be back with you guys tonight, as a matter of fact, after the Phillies hopefully take it to the win.
Phillies are making a run, Mark. There they come.
Yeah, I do get geeked up when the Phillies go on their runs. John, help me, please. I need help. We all need help. So, following the bouncing ball, that is, formerly known as Twitter, the social media platform formerly known as Twitter. And I see this thing about this Josh Andrews character. And I'm like, oh, they brought in the Josh Andrews guy again. Okay, nice to see you there, Josh Andrews. And then I see that Brett Toth guy is like not center anymore. And Josh Andrews is now your backup center. So a couple of things. Why and how? And then we'll take it a step, well, maybe 10 steps further. If they need a long-term center, will we see Cam Jurgens slide into that starting center role if, God forbid, something happens to Jason Kelce? Or would they go to Josh Andrews now as their backup center? How is that working if they have to shuffle the deck?
Yeah, Cam Jurgens is the center, is the backup center.
Long-term or just period?
Just period, but certainly long-term, even more so long-term. In your scenario there, where Jason Kelce gets injured, which he never does. He's played 100 and whatever straight games.
Knock on wood, yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's easy. You just move Cam to center, and then you figure out right guard where Tyler Steen or Jack Driscoll or insert name. Jeff Stoutland doesn't like moving parts, but, Cam's so much better than any other option, and that's his natural position, and that's ultimately where he's going to play. So it makes sense. Now, the bigger issue is what if Jason Kelce goes down in game? Then what do you do in the short term? I still think it's Jurgens because I don't think Andrews is going to make the team. I think he's here because they wasted so many second team reps with Brett Toth throwing back worm burners to Marcus Mariota. You're wasting reps. You just want a guy to snap the football correctly. And it's not a coincidence that Marcus has been much better since Josh Andrews has gotten here, because he's not playing shortstop. He's not got it. And even when people overstate how many terrible snaps that didn't get back to Marcus, but even if it's all kilter, and he's reaching for it ruins the timing of the play, and you're just wasting reps. So they brought in Josh. He's calmed it down immediately, but I don't think he's going to make the football team. They just, if you think about it, you're probably going to keep 9 offensive linemen. And you have the 5 starters. Tyler Steen's going to make it. Jack Driscoll's going to make it. And from there, there's some malleable names where you can talk about the Suo Pettis of the world, the Dennis Kellys of the world are now here, and Josh Sills, who we talked about a little bit. They like Josh Sills as a football player. So yeah, I don't even think he's going to make the 53-man roster, so he can't be the backup center.
So Toth, did you say Toth or Toth?
I say both, but
so is he gone too? Is he gone too?
He might be gone, but I think he's got a better chance. Remember, Brett is not a natural center. That's the issue, but he's been able to play it, and they like that versatility in backup. He played left tackle in college, and he can play guard, so he can play every position. So that kind of helps him as a backup. I think he's got a better chance than Josh Andrews to make the team still, because he can help you in so many different places. But the guys who are going to make it, Driscoll, Steen, are no doubt about it, backups. I'm talking about the backup guys.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, I think Sills is ahead of him. I think Toth is ahead of him. You could argue Suo Peta. We don't even talk about Dennis Kelly. Is Dennis Kelly going to make this team? I right now I would say probably not. But yeah, I don't think Josh is going to be on the 53-man roster. He's here so they don't waste reps in training camp.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So he's a camp body, in other words, is the way to put it.
Yeah, it's an ugly term, but yeah.
I understand. You need somebody to fill out the jersey. You need someone to snap the football to your backup quarterback to make sure that he can stay as sharp as possible. Now, I do want to talk to you about some of the backups here, and Marcus Mariota certainly is one of them. Things did not work out for him in Atlanta last year as far as being their guy, and now he's here in Philadelphia trying to work on the game a little bit more and accepting that backup role. I like the fact that he's a similar style to Jalen Hurts. Of course, being a mobile quarterback, it certainly lends itself to being a similar style to Jalen Hurts. Definitely a huge transition when it was Gardner Minshew, especially for the run game. Those lanes weren't open when Gardner Minshew was standing in at quarterback for the Eagles in the times that Jalen Hurts was hurt. So Marcus Mariota this year, the goal is he never plays. Of course, that's the dream scenario, is that Jalen Hurts is healthy for the entire season and ball it out like he did last year. But Marcus Mariota, you mentioned he's looked better since he's actually gotten the ball in his hands as opposed to picking it up off the dirt. Does he look like a guy that is starting to look a little bit more crisp? Is decision-making good? Does he look a little bit more accurate than what we've seen in years past? How is he looking so far in training camp?
He's not the most accurate guy in the world. He is still a very good runner. The Eagles defense has had a really difficult time dealing with the quarterback run game, and that makes sense with Jalen, but they also can't stop Marcus. So, and Marcus is still very fast, very athletic. You mentioned the similar styles. Maybe that helps. The coaching staff downplays that. I think they not liked, but I think they got a little bit of a boost when when Jalen was injured and they had to shift a little bit with Gardner. I think they liked that. I think it challenged them. So I don't think the similar style means much to them. Can he throw the ball consistently? Probably not. Can he play? But if you need him for 1 or 2 games, he's a good backup. He's a good backup. If you need him for half a season or God forbid more, I think you're in trouble. Yeah. Yeah. But that's most backups, Mark. I mean, every once in a while you get lightning in a bottle like Brock Purdy, which by the way will pay homage to Jody Mack, the biggest Brock Purdy fan in the world. he's got the gold jacket already made for him. That rarely happens when you get to your backup quarterback, and he was the 3rd string quarterback. When you get to the backup, you're usually screwed in the NFL. Although, Nick Foles.
Damn right,
You
Nick
might have
Foles.
heard him. You might have heard of him, Mark.
Let me ask you this, there, friend. Did you see the Carson Wentz hodgepodge
I
wearing
did. Yeah.
Did you instantly vomit? What did you do? What was your reaction?
I like Carson personally.
I like him personally too, but I'm just saying is all the outfit was a little
all the swag, all the swag he's gotten over the years. You get the free shorts. You want to show it off. You don't want to keep it in your trophy room, or whatever. I guess he's got a trophy. So no, I don't have a problem with it. I don't have.
I felt like when I saw that picture, my first thought was like it was almost like an infomercial. It was like, and you too could add to this collection. It was like that kind of thing for GMs around the NFL. Hey, you know what? I need a new armband. Maybe I'll get a New York Giants armband. Maybe could you imagine him back in the division of the backup quarterback?
Yeah, he's already been there. I mean,
he's already been there.
He really that was the first sign the Eagles had a really good pass rush when Carson was just taking
9.
Yeah.
9 sacks.
Look, that's one of the we talk about Jalen Hurts' ascension, how rare it is from the improvement and what he's been able to become. The other side of that coin is we all thought Carson Wentz was a superstar. I mean, people can pretend they didn't. He was, he was the runner-up for MVP. He would have won the MVP, I believe, in 2017, if he had not gotten hurt. And man, it is not a people person. Plays a position that demands almost that you're a people person. I don't think he paid attention to his mechanics. He spent the off season leading up to 2017 with Tom House and Adam Dedew out in Los Angeles, the sort of go-to guys when it comes to mechanics. And he had this great year and he never went back. Part of it was the pandemic. Coincidentally, who was Jalen Hurts working with before last season? Tom House and then Adam. But Jalen's the kind of guy who's going to keep doing it, and just getting better and better. For whatever reason, again, part of it was the pandemic, but John DiFilippo was always hard on Carson when it came to improving his mechanics and just fell off. And then the injuries, that's part of it as well, obviously.
Yeah, sure. Well, I will say this because I am surprised. And to your point, you talk about the ascension and you talk about everybody anointing them, the savior of the organization, whatever. It is very similar. The things we were saying about Jalen Hurts and the things we were saying about Carson Wentz. But the saving grace for me is that I feel like with Jalen Hurts, we've had a vision into his mindset more so than we have had with Carson Wentz. And when we did get a vision into the Carson Wentz mindset, it was not good. It was the stories coming out, multiple publications putting out stories about how he was in the locker room. The story about Darren Sproles and him in the locker room where Wentz was sulking about how great the team was doing without him. And Darren Sproles is like, dude, this is our we're still on the team. Like, they win, we still get a ring. Like, you got to cherish this now as this veteran talking to this younger quarterback. So things came out about that. Jalen Hurts, to me, and everything he has said, whether it was before last year and people are talking about trading for Aaron Rodgers, the stories are out there about trading for Russell Wilson, making a trade for possibly Deshaun Watson. Every time Jalen Hurts was asked about it, I'm above it all. I can only control what I can control. It wasn't, like some kind of carbon copy answer that the organization gave him to say that had no meaning or genuineness to it. No, there's nothing. Everything was genuine about it. And I feel like that gives me, knowing his mindset, his mentality, makes me have so much more confidence in what Jalen Hurts has than what Carson Wentz had during his ascension to the nickname of Ginger Jesus. People were calling
Ginger
him
Jesus. Yeah. Who doesn't get enough credit, Mark, is Nick Saban. Man, he's got, because it's not only Jalen. If you think about Devontae Smith, if you think about Landon Dickerson, Landon Dickerson is hilarious to me, because if you talk to Landon Dickerson, you think he's the worst player in the world. He's like, I stink. I'm terrible. I'm that. He just puts this mindset, and people will bring, because I brought up Henry Ruggs. Look, nobody's, but Henry Ruggs was a heck of a football player. When it comes to football, those guys are so locked in. It's kind of amazing, the training they get, and the rat poison and all that kind of stuff, and trying to avoid all that. So I think he doesn't get enough credit, because when guys come out of that school, they are generally ready for the NFL.
Certainly. I'm a big fan of Landon Dickerson. He is a very funny guy. And beyond the overalls, he's a funny, mentally speaking, he's a funny dude. We're going to speak to Bo Wolf coming up in just a second here on Birds 365. That, of course, is John McMullen. My name is Mark Farzetta, filling in for Jody McDonald. Bo Wolf from The Athletic, talking all things Birds with us here